Hi, Robin here from Just Robin It. So while I was busy working on my boat, I took some pictures of doing a freshwater replacement on my 2GM20F engine, and I thought I'd compile a video to show you basically step by step on how to do this and install a new freshwater pump. Here goes. So here's a shot of my trusty Yanmar 2GM20F engine, and the water pump is located behind the top pulley wheel. You want to start by loosening the 4 bolts attached to the pulley while the belt is still connected. Next, you want to locate the coolant filler cap and remove the cap so you can allow air in when you drain the coolant from the system. On the left hand side of the engine, you need to locate a valve to drain the coolant from the chamber. There's the pipe and the valve. Maybe this is a better shot showing you the valve and then the pipe actually draining, that drains down. This is the fuel pipe and not the drain pipe, so you don't want to loosen that one. Pull the drain pipe away from the engine and place it into a container and open the valve to drain the coolant. This is a 5-gallon container, and you can see about how much coolant you should get out of the engine. You can close the valve when you're done. Next, you want to locate your alternator tensioning bolt and move the alternator to the left to loosen the belt. Next, you want to remove the belt from the pulleys and note the direction of the pulley as well as the direction of the belt so you can return it the same way. So with the belt removed, you can now see the engine, and you want to remove the bolts from the top pulley, placing the pulley and bolts into a container. So you've exposed the freshwater pump now, and you want to remove this clamp that will move this pipe out of the way so you can access the other bolts. Locate the over temperature sensor switch, and there's a little screw and a lead attached to it. You want to loosen the screw to remove the lead. Locate the bottom hose clamp and hose and loosen the hose clamp from the hose. Then you want to locate the top hose and hose clamp and loosen that hose clamp from the hose. You may need to use a water pump pliers just to edge the pipe off the freshwater pump. If your boat is fitted with a freshwater heater and the engine heats it up, you'll need to remove these 2 smaller hoses from the freshwater pump as well. Now you want to locate the bolts holding the freshwater pump onto the actual engine. These are the bolts that need to be removed. You can go ahead and remove the bolts now from the water pump and then just put them neatly on a paper towel for cleaning just now. Gently ease the water pump away from the engine block and remove it and put it one side. Next, clean out the inside of the hoses and put some paper towel in there so no debris falls in while you're working. So this is what it looks like with the water pump removed, and you need to use a blade to remove the old gasket. Just peel it away easily without damaging the housing, and you may want to use a green scourer just to clean it up nicely, and then throw the debris away in a waste bucket. I'm going to replace the over temperature switch as well, but not at this stage, otherwise you will damage the other seal. Here's my new fresh water pump, and it also comes with a brand new gasket to be fitted. So you want to clean up the bolts with a wire brush and then take some calcium-based grease and just coat the threads. Also, I'm going to use that same grease for the gasket and just use my fingers to spread it around the gasket. And I need to remove the elbow that feeds the hot water to the hot water tank, and notice the direction and position relative to the fresh water pump. In this case, I used the handle of a socket wrench and a shifting spanner to turn the elbow out in an anti-clockwise direction. You want to remove the elbow and clean it up, and then apply some plumber's tape to the threads so it will seal up nicely when we put it back. On the new pump, there's a plug in place if you don't have a hot water tank on your boat. You'll need to remove this with an Allen key, and I think it was a size 10, but it doesn't come with the pump, so you need to have that. It's metric. You need to reinstall the elbow, turning it clockwise in and getting it to the position it was on the old pump. You want to smear some calcium-based grease on the surface of the pump and then put the gasket in place. Now, I messed up this first gasket, so be really careful when you put it back in place and make sure your bolts align, and then tighten them by hand gently, and then later, tighten them again opposite bolts to make sure that you create an even pressure when you bring the pump back to the manifold. I used a bit of calcium grease again on the inside of the hoses, and then installed the hoses back to the pump and secured the hose clamps on both upper and lower hoses. So once all the bolts are tightened on the water pump, I'm going to tackle the over temperature sensor switch, and here it is located, and basically remove it with a shifting spanner. And here we go with the old and new, just to check that they're the same, more or less. And then I use some plumber's tape to wrap around the threads, and installed the new sensor in place. Here it is in place, and another photo of it in place. And now to lube and replace the smaller two pipes to the hot water tank. Now to replace the upper pulley and put the bolts back, and if you hadn't used grease, now is a good time to just grease the threads and tighten it up. So install your belt again, noticing the direction around the pulleys, and you want to tension it and tighten the alternator tensioning nut. Make sure you test your belt tension by twisting at 90 degrees, see that it's stiff at 90. Once I had all the pipes back and the hose clamps tight, I decided to flush the system a bit to try and get some of the old coolant out. So I put some water in the system, that's distilled water, and closed it up, and then ran the engine for a bit just to circulate the water, and then drained it all out again before putting new coolant in. Alright, now that the engine was flushed and drained, I put in some new coolant and ran the engine, and then topped it up afterwards. So that's a wrap on replacing the fresh water pump on your 2GM20, as well as the over temperature sensor. I hope you found that useful, and yeah, click like and subscribe to some more crazy technical videos. Thank you. Robin from Just Robin.